Hi guys, welcome. This is how I have my meal every day. Today I'm going to talk to you about my routine, how I source, store, prep, cook and eat my steak on the 30-day carnivore challenge. So, let's go. Okay, so today, in today's video, I want to talk to you a little bit about how basically my little routine, how I source the meat, how I prep the meat, how I store the meat, how I cook it, how I eat it, you know, and all this kind of stuff. So, so that's what I want to get into. I've got meat in a couple of different stages. This morning I went out and I bought my steak from the local butcher. It's grass-fed braising steak. Now, I go for braising steak. It's the cheapest cut that you're pretty much gonna get. So all in all, I got about just over 3 kilos of steak, and that cost me £26.77. Would be about $26 if it was in the US. Okay, and it's really good meat. In America, I think braising steak is known as chuck steak or something like that. Okay, it's not the best cut, all right, but it's perfectly good when you're munching on it. Sort of, every day. And, if you want to treat yourself with a better cut of meat, then fair enough, you can do that. But this is what I kind of go for, and it makes it, for me, economically sustainable. So for 26 quid, this is going to last me 4 or 5 days, at least. So that's the steak. I'll leave it in the bags here until I'm kind of ready to prepare it. And I've got some prepared stuff here, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. So I've got to keep it in this drawer at the bottom of the fridge because my wife hates the smell of it and she hates the sight of raw flesh. Okay, it really turns her stomach. So part of the agreement is I'll have this little drawer down the bottom here. Okay, just keep things out the way. So I've got these cuts of meat here. As you can see, you probably see difference in the two types of meat. So first of all, this stuff has already been salted. This is how it comes out the pack. But what I do is I'll salt it all over and then just leave it in the fridge to mature. Okay, I make sure that the steak isn't touching each other or touching anything else in the fridge. Okay, and I'll leave it, and that'll do for a week, maybe 2 weeks. The edges do start to dry out if you leave it sort of more than 3 or 4 days. Okay, I don't know what the salt process does. I do this because I watched Dr. Anthony Chaffee, whatever, the Carnivore MD on YouTube, and that's what he suggested to do. So that's what I do, and I think it helps with the taste. I absolutely pile the salt on before I put it in the fridge to kind of sit. Then what I'll do in the morning, okay, about an hour, 2 hours before I'm going to cook the steak, I'll take it out and just leave it at room temperature so it kind of settles down, and it definitely helps with the taste, the way that it cooks. As for salting, I have got this Himalayan rose pink salt crystals. All right, it's unrefined and no additives in there. I'll leave a link for that in the description below. You can get it if you're in the UK. I don't even get it in other countries, but something similar. Then what I do, okay, so I've got a little salt shaker, and then I'll just salt the meat both sides, okay, and it just looks like this. Once I've salted one side, I'll kind of just massage it in, just rub it in a little bit, obviously making sure you've washed your hands before you do this, and then turn it over, and then just do the other side. Rub it in, get some on the edges, make sure it's not touching, and I'll just leave it to sit like that, okay? So that's it. I know it's a lot of salt, okay? The salt just seems to disappear. A lot of it goes under the tray underneath, which is why we've got this bit of grease paper, baking paper underneath. All right, and I just leave it like that. There's no more prep to do. You don't have to put any crazy sauces on there. You don't have to put pepper on there or anything, okay? And I think what happens is the salt just helps to draw some of the moisture out of it, and where sometimes you get like a really bloody cut of steak, it just helps prevent that, and it definitely improves the taste. Humans love the taste of salt, so it's a real commodity in nature, and definitely helps improve the taste of the steak, in my opinion. All right, so I'll just stick that in the fridge then, and like I said, I'll leave it for until I'm kind of ready to go. Okay, Okay, when it comes to preparing the meat, what I'll do is, I don't cook the meat in the kitchen. I don't do that because my wife hates the smell of it. It's so bad that it does make her a little bit nauseous. So there's a little bit of friction in the house, but you know, she backs me in what I'm doing, and I want to compromise, and I don't want to make it uncomfortable for her either. So I'll show you where I cook it in a minute. But all I do, I'll grab the meat, whatever I'm gonna cook, and you know, it's usually like one big steak or these 3 of these smaller steaks here. Okay, put it on a little plate. I'll get my eggs ready there. I always have a little bit of hard cheese, so I get my cheese ready, and I just kind of cut that into just little slithers, and that's what I have. You know, each meal, it's, you know, I don't know how much that is in weight, but it's not a great deal. I just use that to add a bit of taste, but also, you know, for the good bacteria. Pretty much everything ready. Once I'm ready, I then head out and cook it. So let's go. Very freezing, but it's not freezing, it's just very cold today. But yeah, so I do my cooking outside, just to compromise with my wife really. So I do it on my barbecue, so basically I get it fired up, let it get nice and warm, you know, burn off some of the crap from the day before. Okay, once that's done, I just whack it on. Now I'm aiming to cook the meat for about 4 minutes each side. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. Now I like my meat, I would eat that raw. I quite like it, you know what I mean, just as it kind of comes. But some people want it done a little bit more, and that's completely up to you really, it's done to taste. But if you're leaving it to mature for maybe a week or whatever, then what you might find is it gets really dry and really tough to eat. So just bear that in mind. You might want to change the way that you store it, prep it, the little routine that you've got. Like, I don't mind it being a little bit tough because I find it does slow me down a little bit, and it helps with those hunger feelings and the feeling of satiety and all that kind of stuff. So it's getting up to temperature now. I'm going to stick the meat on and get it cooked. So that's it, I've got it on the barbecue. I'm going to leave that 4 minutes each side, or there or thereabouts. I'll show you what I'm doing inside whilst that's cooking. I just use a little non-stick pan, just for ease more than anything else. And I just fry the eggs. And I try and fry the eggs so that the yolk is still runny. I think it adds a little bit of taste to the overall meal, but also helps get down some of those tougher bits of steak. So I will either cook in some grass-fed butter or some unsalted butter, or sometimes I'll use beef dripping, okay, which I just got from the supermarket. But anything like it's an animal product you can use. I do prefer the butter with the eggs. I think it tastes a little bit better for me, okay. But if I'm cooking steak in a frying pan, or I'm using it on a griddle or something like that, then I'll use the beef dripping for that. So both really, really good. And I think one of the things to bear in mind, I'm going to talk about this in future videos, is that, you know, you really do want to be embracing the fats. You don't want to be running scared of fat. But for a long time we've run scared of fat and, you know, worried about cholesterol and all that kind of stuff. And look where we are. You know, the Western world's health is just in an absolute shit state, and because we've had it wrong. You know, so don't run scared of that. So all I do is just cut off a little knob of butter, stick that in the frying pan. When the meat's getting ready, then I'll fire that up, bring the meat in. What I'll usually do whilst that's going on, okay, I'll usually make a cup of coffee, black coffee to go with it. It's a little bit later in the day today, so I'm not gonna do that. I find if I have coffee too late in the day, it just knackers my sleep, okay? But I usually have a nice cup of black coffee and make the meal something that I look forward to and something that I enjoy, a bit of a ritual. You know, I'll sit here on my own, enjoy my steak, and it's just a little bit of me time, and I really use it to kind of either catch up with some messages with family, or just have a little bit of a, you know, quiet time, just a little think about stuff, Sometimes I'll watch the news, although I don't watch a great deal of news. And it's almost like a pause, I suppose. You know, people have like a hot bath, don't they? And that's special time for them. This is almost like my moment to have my little time to myself. I do find that it's a little bit primal, almost a little bit spiritual eating in this way, and I quite enjoy it like that. And you know, the reason why I've got a big rustic chopping board, which my eldest son got me for Christmas, I absolutely love it, is because I want it to be, you know, I want it to be quite primal. And my next thing I want to get is I want to get myself, maybe even make my own steak knife. You know, just the idea of that just really excites me, and it makes me, and it's stuff like that where I just love eating carnivore. I love the fact that you've literally got one pan, one small plate, a pair of tongs, you know, a spatula for when you're making your eggs, and you've got a knife and fork, and the chopping board's clear, and that's it. It's not complex, it's just really simple. You don't have to think about a great deal. You know, every day before when I was eating a normal standard sort of Western diet, you're like, well, what are we having today? We need a bit of variety. We had that yesterday. There's none of that. You just get on with it. It's the same thing, and I love it. And if I want a bit of variety, I change the cheese, or I change the type of eggs that I eat. And it's as simple as that. Right, so now that's cooked. It looks and smells amazing. You know, you go out there and the barbecue's going, it's middle of winter, and you're just like, this is awesome. So all I'm going to do then is I just lay it on my little chopping board, and any juices that's come off, I just pour them on, because I'll try and mop them up later on. And then I want to leave it to sit. So whilst that's sitting, then I get on with my eggs.
Searching for sparks, they fade away, but I'm still holding on. I'm spinning around the speed of sound. There's no place to get away.
What a disaster.
If the stars were to fall, I would sit in the dark.
I apologise, I don't know if I'll use the audio here, but I just, you know, I've got to have the blower working above us, so it just does just mess with the noise a little bit. Yeah, so I just fry the eggs on a relatively low heat. And that's it. You know, this is how I eat. It's about this amount of meat. The key thing, you know, a couple of questions I get all the time is, how do you know how much to eat and all this kind of stuff? And basically I will eat this until I'm just not enjoying it anymore. You know, it's just like, yeah, I'm kind of done. And if there's anything left, I'll just plate it up, stick it in the fridge, leave it in the cupboard or whatever, and then I'll go back and usually eat it later on. But yeah, so it's about like just becoming a bit more in tune with your natural messages and signals in the body. Whereas if I was eating a standard Western diet where I was just kicking the hell out of carbohydrates and stuff like that, I just eat and eat and eat and eat, because those signals are just not either sent or received as strong as when you're eating stuff like this. So this is it. This is basically how I eat every day, and I absolutely love it, and I think you will too. If you've got questions, then please, you know, stick them down below, and remember to subscribe, because it'll just notify you straight away if I upload another video, another little update. Coming in the next few days, I might do a little Q&A session, a live Q&A session. Let me know if that's something that you might be that might benefit for you. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I'm just, you know, I'm doing this and might be a little bit ahead of you if you're thinking of trying it. So I'll give you whatever advice I can. But the biggest thing here is I'm going to share my result. The results I get is, it's like a switch is flipped. Like my sugar cravings instantly go. My drivers to eat, my hunger instantly go. And for that, I'm just truly grateful for the carnivore diet, because that is something that I have struggled with for a long time, and I know other people have. My wife, for example, you know, she battles it every day. So, you know, just that alone, eating like this is just absolutely massive. It doesn't need to be expensive. It doesn't need to be a hassle. I find it incredibly simple and incredibly cost effective. So, you know, it's completely the opposite to what people think. The only thing left to do now is to eat up. I've got to say, it just smells and looks amazing. You know, I just love the idea of it. In fact, a friend of mine is doing a vegetarian challenge for January, okay, Veganuary or whatever. And I said, well, I'd rather be doing mine than yours. And this is why. And he said, yes, steak would be more appealing to me than the veg. I wish I could describe to you just how good this steak is. You know, it just tastes amazing, smells incredible. It just kills my appetite like you wouldn't believe, and I just love it. I can't believe how unsocially, what's the right word? How this is not accepted socially. I've already had a couple of comments about, you know, people that say, you know, what about the planet and all this kind of stuff. Now, when I picked this meat up this morning, I looked across into the fields and I could see the same animals that this meat came from in front of me, more or less the same postcode as me. You know, it gets butchered there, it's sold in the shop nearby. I can see it all in front of me. It's such healthy meat, real humane conditions. These cows are having the time of their lives. There's no like extortionate travel costs or carbon problems, because the only bit of carbon there was I piled into my car, and then once a week or twice a week sometimes I'll drive to the butchers and pick up my meat, and that's it. There's no extortionate travel costs from New Zealand, Argentina, from Chile or anything like that. This is from more or less the same postcode as me, and it just tastes incredible. It's just incredible.